Okay, everyone, here we go with the second part of this depressurization training module, which will be the actual simulation of reproducing that event. Now with that, I want to clarify that number one, we're not going to represent the malfunction in the systems occurring and dealing with that. This is strictly attempt to help you understand what the mechanics are in setting up the mask, which will be simulated, and also the communication to one another in the cockpit. And then the main part of what this really is about is the mechanics of making an automation descent to a safe altitude after a depressurization. So a review of where we are here right now. We're at flight level 360 at a cruise Mach. In this case here, unlike in the PPT, we are letting the computer control the speed and we're navigating via LNAV. Although this should be VNAV path, I can't get it to convert to that. It is in the VNAV mode, and you can look up here on the mode control panel. You can see that we have VNAV engaged. It is operating again, as I mentioned, in the FMC speed, and we're at flight level 360 and we're navigating laterally via the LNAV. When I start at the point of explaining that we have an indication of a depressurization, our ears are noticing it, and next we'll have an altitude warning horn, and then we're going to have to start to recognize that we need to prepare the cockpit and ourselves for an emergency descent. I'll try to put a realistic time frame into the time period of taking an oxygen mask out and donning it. I'm going to allow 10 seconds for that. We certainly should be able to get an oxygen mask properly and snugly on in a 10-second period of time. The next thing we'll do is I'll go down to the audio control panel and just simulate a check-in with fellow crew member, and from that point on we will start to prepare for an emergency descent. And we'll simulate an ATC environment as best we can with this as well. All right, at this point we start to get some indications of the pressurization changing in the cabin via our senses, our ears, and at this point we hear an altitude warning horn go off, and at that point what we're going to do is look to go down, extract the oxygen mask from the respective compartment. Remember, I said pull it straight up. I've started the clock and it's set up for 12 minutes. So we're donning the oxygen mask. I get that on in a short period of time. The next thing that I want to do is go over to the audio control panel to establish communication with flight officer, whether from the captain's side or the first officer side. I'm going to turn the speaker on and up, and then I'm going to check in. So assume from the captain's side here, I pull the toggle switch down to intercom, say captain checking in, and I'm waiting for a response from my first officer. So now what we're going to do is go up, determine that we do have to do something about considering a descent. I confirm that there is no way to control the cabin. So I state to my fellow pilot, all right, I've got control of the aircraft. You take care of the QRH and stand by. We're going to get clearance for a descent. So while I'm doing that, I'm just going to roll this down a little bit, and I'm going to call ATC and say such and such, call sign here. We have an emergency. We have a depressurization of the cabin. I need a descent to a lower altitude. I'd like to get to 10,000 feet. They acknowledge it, and what they say is, all right, turn left to a heading of 010 and descend to flight level 280. So I go up to the mode control panel, I say verbally heading select, and I check it here, 010. I'm confirmed with that. They give me a clearance down to flight level 280. I almost have that set here. I'm going to hit level change. And then what I'm going to do is set it to flight level 280, and I announce that MCP speed to flight level 280, and it's going to start the descent. Then what I'm going to do is go down and extend the speed brake, and notice that when we do that, we are going to increase our rate of descent. And then what we're going to do is start to operate the checklist. So we're starting the checklist, which would be dealing with confirming that we do have oxygen mask on and 100%, confirming that we have established communication, and starting the checklist items that are part of Boeing's checklist and your airline's checklist. This particular system here, this is automatically changing the airspeed as we descend. Now the ATC says turn further left to a heading of 360 and descend to flight level 180. So I confirm heading select 360, I confirm it here, I confirm it here on my compass, and I'm going to set flight level 180 and make sure that we're in level change. If it kicks out of a level change, then I want to make sure, and that is why I looked at that mode control panel and I saw that it went to vert speed, and I don't want that. I want the best I can get with this power coming back with the speed brake extended, and we're heading on down. I see I've got a good rate of descent. We're working on the checklist, and I'm going to give some time to assume the checklist is being conducted here, and it's taking some time to get through the checklist. And we're coordinating that. Recognize this is going to be a demanding time, because what you're doing is reading the checklist, you're confirming that the items are taken care of, you're trying to continue to discern what happened here. That is important to understand, that is a complicated environment that we're in here right now. And I will tell you that at this point, when we talked about that 14-minute objective that we have to get down to a safe altitude for passengers, which is 14,000 feet, we just passed 7 minutes. We've got 6 minutes and 45 seconds left to get that accomplished. Now ATC says you can descend to 10,000. So we've got the ability to go down now all the way to 10,000. So we'll set the 10,000. We're sending over the altitude tape here while I'm watching things. Now ATC asked me to turn right to a heading of 010, so we're going to go heading 010. I'm going to confirm that I have that heading 010 here. I see that we're turning. I see that I'm coming up on 18,000 feet. So they're going to give us an altimeter setting in the local area here, and let's say it's 2992. They're giving us frequencies to change to, and we're coming through 17,000 feet here. We've got 4 minutes and 30 seconds left. So at this point, we have completed the checklist, and I want to make an announcement to the passengers in the cabin, because we've got a checklist complete. I'd have my partner take over the aircraft, and I'm monitoring, I'm on it, but I'm going to go down and I'm going to speak to the passengers. So I select PA on the audio control panel and make an announcement. Folks, this is the captain speaking. Obviously, you can tell that we've had a problem, a pressurization problem. The masks are down. Hopefully everyone is on a mask. We're descending to a lower altitude. I recognize that this is an aggressive flight maneuver to get to a lower and safe altitude for you. At this time, I want you to recognize that up here in the cockpit, we've got everything under control. We're going to continue a descent for a few more thousand feet down to a lower altitude, and I will get back to you when we get established at a lower altitude. Please listen to the flight attendants and make sure that your oxygen masks are on. Then I'm going to come back and join my partner in the ATC environment here. We're coming up on 10,000. We'll see if we can get another lower altitude here so we can get off our mask as well. Life is a lot easier without an oxygen mask on. So we request lower, and they give us an altitude of 9,000 feet. So I've got the aircraft back, Bill. You've got the radios. He acknowledges that we're cleared to 8,000 feet or 9,000 feet. I set 9,000 feet. And in this case here, we can descend at a controlled rate of descent. Now at this point, there's no need for us to be at this airspeed, so we'll go ahead and slow the aircraft back to, we'll pick 250 knots. Okay, so I announced to my partner that I'm going to be setting speed at 250 knots. Speed set, 250. And I confirm it here on my display. Now I've got the speed brake out, so I could retract the speed brake, and I could certainly retract it even sooner than that. But I see we're vertical speed down to 9,000 feet. We're about to approach it. So at this point, we get our masks off, and when you get your mask off, you can probably put it, best thing to do is just don't put it back in a compartment. That takes a lot of time. Just put it on the floor, but make sure you close the compartment lids once you come off oxygen, because it reestablishes the ability to operate via the boom mic on most of the newer approaches to operating the audio control panel with oxygen. So at this point, we're going to call the flight attendants, ring for the flight attendants. And what we're going to do in our communication with the flight attendants is find out, number one, what the state of the cabin is in terms of any kind of injuries, whether to them or to the passengers. That's going to be a critical piece of information to determine what you're going to do and how soon you may have to get on the ground. They can also maybe help you that if there was anything that they had seen back there that maybe caused the pressurization problem, would be able to assist with some information that you didn't have up to that point. Don't rush this procedure. Be urgent about it, be deliberate about it, be systematic about it, but there is no need to take any kind of rash action of getting out of this altitude. The altitude that you're cruising at, you'll have plenty of time to get down to a safe altitude with the oxygen that is supplied to the passengers at their seats. Well, this ends this module. I hope that you can see that the automation part, participating in an emergency of this nature, really eases up your ability to be able to operate the checklists and confirm items that the checklist calls for or asks you to observe. The automation really reduces the load. I think by now most airlines would certainly want you operating with the autopilot on. It's certainly going to be an option for you, but I think we all recognize that when we're flying an airplane and have to deal with it in this kind of condition, it takes a lot of attention to just fly the airplane and at the same time try to be global to looking at and analyzing the situation. The automation allows us to open up, to be able to really help in the determination of what's going on and then the things that are required to operate the airplane. Any questions on this lesson? Certainly ask questions and be glad to further clarify some things that you may have questions about. Thanks very much for watching.